race fans. Well, afternoon, I guess, if you're on the West Coast. And welcome
Okay.
here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of Season 58 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. A new year, new season. Same expectations, though. Everybody wants to, first off, start out the season with the checkered flag, lock themselves in the playoffs, and, of course, at season's end, want to be the one hoisting that championship trophy. We're preparing tonight for the season opener. 66 laps await these drivers between them and that first victory lane visit of the season. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Jessica Shelton. And Jess, different manufacturer changes. I see a couple of number changes, a lot of sponsor changes. But as I go down through this list, old familiar faces, no new drivers in the field, which that's good if you are looking for the comfort level of someone that you've pushed for a long time or have been pushed by. But at the same time, makes it a little bit difficult to be able to kind of eke somebody if you're going to try and pass them for a win, because they may have already seen your playbook.
Yeah, you stay with someone so long for a long period of time, they get used to, okay, well, this is what you guys are going to do. Yeah, this guy's behind you, so this guy's going to go with you, etc., etc., etc. Same old, same old. But, like you said, who knows? New season, new things can change. We have seen change happen last season. If you recall, a few seasons ago, it used to be dominated by the self-proclaimed, what was it, Florida Boys or Florida Line or however you want to say them. I don't know what their
Florida Gang, I think is what they were called.
And then all of a sudden, here comes Novsker and Jeremy, and that whole group just randomly shows out of nowhere. And then what happened to the Florida Gang? They're no longer holding all the cards, and that was unfortunate for them. But they find new people to work with. We'll see what happens. Maybe some potential rivalries, some alliances. Who knows what we're going to experience this time. And by the way, I have to say it. Okay, it's going on 9 o'clock Eastern, so that's 3 hours. That would be 6 o'clock West Coast, okay? So it's still evening, not afternoon.
It's still late afternoon, isn't it? Kind of?
It's evening.
Okay, alright. So,
5 o'clock it becomes evening.
Look, it's not a Seth Cole broadcast if there isn't a fail within the first 5 minutes. I have a reputation to maintain.
You are picking up where you left off on, exactly. What was it? What was it?
I'm still flustered from that the figure 8 dirt race we did on New Year's Day.
Anyway, going into this, Cy Jones has got the pole for this event for the opener, Seth, but I'm not really sure if Cy's going to start on the pole or if he's going to go to the back, because we've seen a couple of them do that, and if they do, when we get that green flag, it's going to be delayed. So hopefully everyone's minding P's and Q's and getting ready to jump up. We've got a return from Robbie Nices, I believe, in the 54. You mentioned it a moment ago. Car number swap of a few people. Kyle Lawson's in the 6. You have Glenn Harris is now in the 8. Not the 08 anymore. Jeremy Jeffries running the 1 instead of the old 8. 44, Jason Suchek, but I don't know if he was actually in that. I think he was in the 1 last season, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. We ended up actually getting a little bit in the Christmas race that we broadcasted last year for RTG. A little bit of a precursor of knowing a few of these number changes. Sheck was in the 44 and Jeffries was in the 1, so we figured that was going to roll over to here. Another driver that I also noticed had a number change. It'll take a little getting used to just number-wise. The car looks relatively the same, the bright neon green, but Wiley Coate, he was in the 6 last season. He's now in the 5 car, so 1 digit down. Yeah, as I mentioned too, a lot of different drivers with new paint schemes, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be the kind of curveball of trying to get used to this season, at least in the first couple of races, is getting used to those new liveries.
Absolutely, and we got returning a couple of drivers here. I just had his name. Doug Woolley, he's in the 99. He's back, Seth. And we've got Andrew Miller in the 47 returning. And, he's a old good friend of ours. So this looks like it's going to shape up to be something good. And remember that RTG race that we had, the broadcast. It came down to the end. It was exciting. It was really, really tense. And Jeremy Jeffries, I believe, stole that one. And if that's the case, broadcast in the new season, will Jeremy Jeffries pick up where he left off?
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting because, as we mentioned, it's a new season, and so that means everyone starts with a clean slate. Everybody is at 0 as far as points accumulated. And sometimes in the past, we've seen here in the season openers, drivers will take that as an opportunity to kind of springboard their season, use this season opener as an opportunity to kind of figure out what kind of momentum they're going to have heading down the regular season towards the playoffs. We may see a couple more cautions than normal here tonight, just on the fact that I think that since there are points accumulated now from ground zero, you might be a little bit more willing to take a few risks. Try and see if it'll gain you a couple more positions, a couple more points. If it doesn't work out, if you wreck, well, then you've got another 7 races before the playoffs begin to be able to get those points back that you lost.
Yeah, and you might want to try new little things. Like we've seen some people short pit, some people decide they're gonna hit the last second and save a little bit of extra fuel and make certain moves to get themselves in a position where they normally wouldn't. I mean, when it comes to playoff time, they really get really aggressive to try to go for it right away. If they got nothing to lose, then they'll try something like that. But Seth, we also need to look at the other big detail that we got. Josh, I think it was Josh Metallic who is the head admin here for the Tally Challenge. Did he not inform us that the playoff scenario scape has changed?
Entirely different now. We still have the win in you're in situation, but it has been expanded from 10 drivers making it in through points to 12 drivers making it in through points. Drivers that win that are outside the top 12 in points, as long as they're above 20th or higher, they can still make it into the playoffs with their victories. But the big thing that we ended up hearing, as Jess alluded to, is it's not going to be a 5-race playoff. It's not going to be 2 races eliminations, 2 races eliminations, and then a season finale. Instead, it's actually going to be a 6-race playoffs. It will still remain with 2 races in the first 2 rounds with eliminations, but then there will be a 2-race final round, and that's going to be interesting because a lot of drivers didn't like the fact the championship kind of narrowed down to the season finale 1 race. So spanning it over the course of 2 races, that's going to be really interesting to see how that works out, because we talk about how important it is to find victory lane to get into the playoffs, but we also talk about how important it is to be consistent. And with there being a 2-race finale in essence, consistency is going to be key.
Absolutely. And hey, another thing that we got to point out, technically nearly the same thing, but if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it. But every once in a while, Seth, sometimes change is good, and experimentation usually leads to okay, no, or yes, and you won't know until you try. And they've added another track to this season schedule, and we need to get ready to talk about that one.
Yeah, we're going to be going to a new track, BSR Night version 3. It's going to be somewhat similar in aspects to what we'll see here at Talladega, but a kind of a visual aesthetic difference. And we'll be talking a lot more about that during the course of tonight's race. Let's take you through your 38 truck starting lineup. Cy Jones looks like he actually is going to lead us to the first green flag of the season. He'll be alongside of Chuck McClure. Bernie Mobbs will be alongside Joe DeSpirito in row 2. And then it's David Cannon in the completion of the top 5. Bob Dixon will be alongside of him. The rest of the starting lineup is going to be a little bit staggered just based off of drivers where they qualified. So try and have this in order, but it may not be necessarily how they roll off the grid. You've got John Godfrey. He's going to roll off the row number 4 with Kelly Causey. Mike Rogers will be with Tom Dixon. Jim Glaude in row 6. He's with Bobby Farrell. Kyle Lawson, row 7 with Ronnie Sullins. Row 8, Doug Cady and Glenn Harris. Row 9, Ken Roberts, Jeremy Jeffries. And completing the top 20, Wayne Pribnow and Doug Hewlick. Mark Pagley and Doug Woolley, they're back in row 11. Row 12, Robbie Nices and Ron Hagelin. Row 13, Greg Palmer and Grant Wesley. We'll give you the rest of it here in just a minute because Cy Jones Chevrolet is about to get us underway for the 58th season of the Talladega Challenge.
A little bit of a stack up there near the 5 machine of Wiley Coat back there, but they all seem to be going
back there too. I noticed about 2 rows deep.
Yeah, they were ready. They were ready to start making moves to get themselves in. Oh, 4 wide up front.
That is Mike Rogers and Jim Glaude. Did they make contact? It was close.
You got one of them dropping to the back to get
That's
out of
Andrew
the
Miller.
way.
He says, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and going back to the field, I do want to point out, I want to say this publicly, I really do enjoy and I like Jason Shuck's Budweiser paint scheme. It's really nice, so good job for Jason, for you to have that, or whoever designed it. Really good job on that.
Going to lead the first lap of season 58. It looks like it's going to be Chuck McClure around the top side. Joe DeSpirito with him. A couple of former champions will cross the line in first and second. I'll go down through the rest of the lineup just so that we know the rest of the drivers that are taking part in tonight's festivities. Ended off with Grant Wesley, Jeff Crivello, and Brian Schilling. They were the completion of the top 28. Richard Martin, Andrew Miller, the completion of the top 30. Then Wiley Cope, Bob Seminara, they were back in row 16. Terry Bombard, Tim Nofsker, row 17. Josh Metallic, Dave Melson in row 18. And completing the final row, Jason Scheck and Donnie Garrett. Those are the 38 drivers in tonight's race, as that middle line starting to put together some numbers. They got Bob Dixon in third, Seminara, I believe, they're in fourth, Kelly Causey in that fifth position.
And Bernie Mobb's trying his best to try to help out the 7 machine of Cy Jones on this bottom, but that bottom just doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. We've seen it from time to time have a little bit of an oomph into it, but it just doesn't seem like it's got where it needs to be at right now, as you see Cy Jones alongside the 8 machine this season of Glenn Harris. Further back, Seth, they're still shuffling around, and here goes Bob Seminara in the 712, making the high side, try to get some momentum there. He's got Tim Nofsker up there with him. Nofsker and Seminara, they are former winners. They know how to get it done here, but this is from the back. We're used to seeing Bob use it near the front, or Tim make moves in the back with Chuck McClure. So seeing these guys, they got Greg Palmer hooked up on the Hooters machine. They got the STP machine of DMAR there. This group knows how to get it done as well, Seth.
Not just the Hooters machine. I saw the render posted on the Facebook group page today. That's the Flamin' Hooters machine there for the 22 of Greg Palmer this season. And yeah, that's the Bob Seminara 712 leading that third line. I wrongfully called him up in the fourth position. I forgot it's the same sponsorship for both Godfrey and Seminara, but Seminara's got the blue and white truck. The red and white truck is Godfrey.
Seth, you and your mistakes, Paul. Anyway.
Like I said, it takes time to get used to the liveries.
3 wide several rows deep. They're trying their best. We see them kind of hopping and bopping, weaving just a little bit, Seth, trying to hold that line. And like with me, off of turn 2, when I would run here, I push up. Some of these guys push up in 3, 4, 1, or 2, depending on your entry and how you enter the corner. So we got to be really careful to watch out how these guys take that, because we see the 14 machine up here of Wayne Prim now. He seems to enter really low and it pushes up. Now you see him kind of go low on Terry Bombard there just a little bit, and he pushes right up. I hate when that happens to myself. I don't know how bad it's been for you at this track, Seth. I know you've been on it a few times yourself.
Well, the tough thing is, it definitely pushes up when I've raced here at this particular Talladega. The problem is, you can't keep momentum going down the back straightaway. I have to usually feather the throttle, get the nose pointed so that way it doesn't push up off of turn number 2. So it's kind of a catch-22. Do you keep your foot in the throttle and maybe push up into somebody that's in the middle 3 wide, or do you lose that momentum and detach from the car or truck that you're trying to push down the back straightaway?
Speaking of losing momentum, I don't know what's happened to the Batman Kermit the Frog machine of Tom Dixon and the 38 of Steve Melson, Seth. I don't know what's happened to these guys.
Tom Dixon in the 45, just now making his way through the tri-oval, and there is Dave Melson, the 038.
Dave Melson, I can't believe that's Steve. My fail.
Did the 038 potentially start from pit road, I wonder, because they're showing him about 35 seconds behind. I know that some drivers elect to do that. They think it's a safer way in the early going, start from pit road and maybe catch a quick caution to reel the lead pack back in. It kind of seems like 6 laps in, either you got into the wall or you started from pit road if you're that far back that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they're going. If we don't get a caution soon, they're going to really have a tough time trying to catch up, especially if they go a couple laps down. So, because we get that lucky dog waiver around. I mean, the lucky dog, we give it out to 2 drivers. But if you go 2 laps down, then you got to go hope for another caution right away if you're the only 2 lap down. And
oh, Cy Jones, ooh, little out of shape, squirrely there in the middle of the pack. Almost went up into Tim Nofsker, but Nice save there by the Sunoco Chevrolet. That could have very nearly been the first caution of the season.
And we saw them pass Melson, and it looks like Schilling and Demar are really close back here. Schilling, the defending champion right now of the Tally Challenge. He's right behind the 56 of Crivello in front of Wiley Coate. And that's in, I believe, the 28th position right now. So I'm not sure if Schilling is, I think Schilling might just be riding at this moment. Ahead of him is the familiar 99 Doug Woolley, but it's an Eric Darnell machine, and whoa, Scheck pushed up pretty big right there off the 2, almost getting into Schilling. Schilling drops down below to get right behind the 99 machine of Doug Woolley. Still a lot of jostling taking place. 3 wide still maintaining up front, Seth. I don't know how much longer they're going to stay that way.
And we're watching the 38 of Rodney Sullins, the Black Rifle Coffee Chevrolet Silverado, leading that inside line. He's got John Godfrey and the new number 1 for Jeremy Jeffries behind him. Mark Paglia there as well in the 28. Paglia was the fastest in practice and actually coming off a victory Tuesday night in the RTR Super Speedway Series, so keep your eye on that Quality Care Ford F-Series as top 6 look like they've gotten themselves clear now. Ken Roberts in the 55 trying to do the same. You go back there to Brian Schilling, and we talked about this with Grant Wesley last season. You're coming into a brand new season as the defending champion. How much pressure is there on you that you put on yourself to try and live back up to the expectations of what you were able to do the season prior?
Well, I think I've only been in like 2 or 3 championship possession stats for the playoffs. I think I got to the Final Four 1 time. And this, it's really difficult with the type of standards these guys have, the aggressiveness, the talent, what these guys can do. So trying to not only win but come back and do it again, it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, you got big names that are really up there all the time. I mean, you got to really start thinking outside the box if you're going to defend. And let's see, we've got what is it, Seth? A couple of repeat winners on this series.
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we're guaranteed a different winner this season from last season. Nate Balser won the season opener last year. He is.
Well, I meant champion. I'm sorry.
Oh, champion. Oh yeah.
Repeat champion.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of former champs. I noticed even in this field here tonight. You mentioned about Doug Woolley. He's actually a former champion in the Tally Challenge Series. As Kelly Causey, he's got some friends up on that top side. Kelly Causey here tonight. You can see a somewhat different looking paint scheme from what we saw last season. I was informed that this is a paint scheme in honor of his father. Oh, we'll get to that in a minute because we've got a wreck. Big wreck on the back straightaway. Wesley's going air. Godfrey's up in the air. Harris caught some air as well.
Hagelin got clipped a little bit by Wiley back here at the back.
Everyone's scattering, sliding all the way through the back straightaway.
Big damage to the back end of, I think it's the Spiritos machine. Oh, no, it's not the Spirito. It's, who is that in that machine back here?
I know at least 3 cars caught some air. Harris was one. Wesley was another, and I believe the other might have been John Godfrey in the 7-Eleven. And everybody, I mean, there's a lot of room there on the back straightaway, but at that point in time, it looked like there was very few areas you could go to be able to avoid that wreck, as that was up close to the front of the field as well.
I have no idea why I said the Spirito, Seth. I'm trying to find out what dark truck I saw. The bright spoiler.
Miller, perhaps? I saw
Could
him
have been.
trying to snake his way through.
I saw someone with a lot of back-end damage. Might have been the 31 of Bernie Miles. Bernie's got some back-end damage. The 99 of Doug Woolley has a little bit of quarter panel damage on his left rear.
Gonna be a big break for Wiley Coate and
Melson. Melson just went a lap down.
Yep, he'll get the lucky dog. Tom Dixon was on the lead lap, so he'll catch up to the tail end of the field.
Well, so running 12 laps into this right now, Seth. There's a good chance that these guys are probably just going to take a can and a half of fuel. No tires, most likely, unless you got involved or had to hit the brakes really hard, then you might want to take tires. But I kind of predict that these guys will probably take about half, a can and a half, I mean. So, anyway, while we got a moment before we go back and look at the replay stuff, you want to talk about the sponsorship for this race?
Yeah, so the sponsorship for the series this season is brought to you in part by Ultimate Garage Floors. Ultimate Garage Floors specializes in professional quality Exposy floors systems for a variety of applications, including the Ultimate Garage, game rooms, laundry rooms, utility rooms, as well as many commercial applications. Their installers at Ultimate Garage Floors have over 30 years of specialty coatings experience, including Exposy floor systems and other concrete coating solutions. They maintain relationships with installers throughout the Northwest, California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Texas. A big thanks to Ultimate Garage Floors for their sponsorship in helping us bring you these broadcasts this season for the RTG Talladega Challenge. Let's
Whoa, a
go
little
to
bit
the
of
back
contact.
straightaway and see what happened.
Had a little bit of contact on pit road, but they did nothing. But yeah, anyway, go ahead, Seth. I'm
I
sorry.
believe this might have been bumper grab. Let's take a look here. Glenn Harris was all over the back bumper of Kelly Causey. Like those bumpers were just not lined up quite right. That is a lot of cars where those spoilers caught air. Wesley went up into the air. Harris went up into the air. Godfrey went up into the air. Big hit there to the left side of the 99 of Doug Woolley. I don't know how that's going to affect him. I'm trying to see like drivers that had really hard contact because it looked like a lot of drivers may have just spun around trying to avoid, but I didn't really see anybody take super hard licks that looked like they would take them out of the run of this race. Doug
Yeah.
Kulik was involved, Bernie Mobbs was in that, Nofsker, Ken Roberts,
Grant
Talent.
West is currently running, I want to say 5th or 6th in this lineup here, but he's coming off the track to go in pit road. So find out how bad the damage is going to be on that machine, because I can just look at it from far chase stuff and you can see the bent and the indentation to the left side. So the 88 machine has a little bit. I'm hoping that he can get it fixed and get back out there and give us some good racing here.
On board with Richard Martin. They have the STP Chevrolet if he's able to get through this. Well, that was a nice piece of driving and a split there between Harris and Ken Roberts. You can see them still wrecking further up there. That's Godfrey to the left, Greg Palmer to the right. Probably be easier to have a list of who wasn't all involved in the wreck, but again, like I said, it looked like for the most part, drivers that were involved, not many of them took really super big hits. Even the trucks that caught air there, John Godfrey, Grant Wesley,
Yeah,
they went up in the air for a moment, but then came back down. I don't think that necessarily is going to give them race-ending damage.
Yeah, I was on board with Grant when he came in pit road south, and I did a little count. I'm probably off by maybe a little bit, but I at least counted about 20 to 23, 24 seconds that Grant was on pit road. The truck looks like they fixed the left side though, so I mean, hopefully that won't hinder him too much. I mean, but he's got a long way to go from being back there, so any damage he does have will definitely be a hindrance right now. But, I mean, it's still a long race to go, so like, what is it, 40 some laps to go?
Yeah, a lot of track position lost to be sure, but then at the same time was going to mention prior to that wreck taking place, Bob Seminara started this race from all the way back in the 32nd position, and he was up inside the top 5 when that caution came out. So plenty of opportunity if you've got a strong enough race car and the savviness to work your way through the field, which we've seen a lot of these drivers be able to do, to be able to gain back the track position that you lost. As it looks like Robbie Nice is going to lead a lap, and he'll be bringing that car to pit road. A little Fred Jones throwback right there for people that are familiar with the Enter 2003 sim. I believe the default car for this mod is the number 83 Jones car of the man, the myth, the legend, Fred Jones. And you got Dave Melson rather, going around to get his lap back. So that will turn the lead over to Chuck McClure for the upcoming restart. Was going to mention, thought he was actually going to be involved in the wreck, but he was able to keep it pointed in the right direction. That 00 of Kelly Causey New livery here this season in honor of his dad, who passed away a few years back. Worked for the Illinois Central Gulf Railroad, and this is a paint scheme based off of basically the livery that the engine of that railroad would have had. Looked at the side-by-side, the engine and the truck, and it is pretty much spot on. So a great tribute there for Kelly Causey, a former winner here in the Tally Challenge, was a playoff contender actually 2 seasons ago when he made his way in via points, but also via a victory in the regular season finale.
Yeah, and talking about the tribute scheme, I mean, it's always good to have a tribute scheme with you. You always want to go that extra mile and, you know, have the stars align just right. So with him being able to keep going like that, a little bit of good luck, a little bit of fortune, someone watching out for him there.
Absolutely. You know, it may just be a personal thing for me, but I love the paint schemes that have the stories behind them. There's
Absolutely.
actually a couple more in the field that we'll be touching on here during the course of this race, as well as lights out atop the pace truck. We'll get ready to go back green on lap 16 of 66.
I have a question.
Okay.
I don't recall, but just out of curiosity, was Andrew Miller involved in this at the beginning?
So he, I think, got a little bit of it, but I don't think that he was necessarily involved as far as like getting race ending.
I asked because remember he opted to fall to the back, you know, to get out of the way and say I'm out of this, and I was just curious if he got a little bit of it or not, because it looks like his truck looks pretty good. He's going to restart behind Grant Wesley on the side here of the 55 Ken Roberts, so he's still got a little ways to go, but maybe that's by design that he wants to just be back there as a precaution right now.
Yeah, from what I remember when we saw the race, the wreck happen live, he was kind of snaking his way through the traffic, and he took a little hit there, but it was very minor contact, so he should be good to go, as it's going to be Chuck McClure, Joe DeSpirito bringing us back to green, Kelly Causey, Bob Seminaro, Rodney Sullins is the top 5, then it's Donnie Garrett, Bob Dixon, Jim Glaude, Tim Knopfsker, and Bobby Farrell. Green flag back in the air here on lap 16.
On here? Ken Roberts here. What happened with Ken Roberts?
Is off the pace here,
No,
the line.
right there at the very beginning, it looked like his truck kind of didn't want to go. Like,
did he miss a shift, perhaps, or did he blow a gear?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Follow up on that. That's going to hurt him in terms of trying to stay with the lead
He's
path.
like flying past the 38 of Melson, so Melson must have something really wrong with his machine.
Dave Melson just now hitting 165, while Ken Roberts is at 185. So 20 miles per hour single car speed lost there on the 38. Is that a 4th gear loss on the 38 car? I don't know.
You should be going about 184, 185 by yourself.
Something's wrong, for sure, yeah. If you're not hitting over 170, boy, there's something majorly wrong on that Wonder Bread Chevrolet then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what in the world happened. It has to be something down wrong with that machine. It's got to be a gear or something, Seth.
Try and follow up on that. After the first caution of the day, first caution of the season, all 38 trucks are still running, and all are on the lead lap after Melson got the free pass under that caution, but may end up falling a lap down again. And that would explain, too, why Melson went a lap down as early as he did. Just the major difference in speed right there that we saw between the 55 of Ken Roberts, who was slow on the start, and that 038 of Dave Melson. So we'll try and follow up what might be the cause there, but my first reaction would be that car cannot shift into 4th gear. It is stuck in 3rd gear right now, losing that 20 to 25 miles per hour that you would get with the upshift.
Seth, they're all single file up near the front. I don't know. I mean, you get a single file for a long period of time, you know what's going to happen. A little bit of a checkup start, and then that high side is being led by Tim Oscar back there. I don't know what they're going to do.
But here's the thing, too. As a racer, as soon as the green flag drops to start the race, the adrenaline's at an all-time high, especially when you're starting out a brand new season. You're getting all anxious, and so you want to take the double wide. You want to take the 3 wide. If the opportunity presents itself, maybe even take the 4 wide. Then a caution comes out. You got a couple of pace laps to catch your breath and realize, oh, yeah, we still got a long ways to go. Let's ride for a little bit. This always seems to be the caveat of super speedway racing. It takes a big wreck to kind of shake everybody back to their senses and realize, oh yeah, we can't win the race on the first lap, but we can certainly lose it.
Yeah, and you don't want to do. Oh, look at that! The one machine, Jeremy Jeffries, passing DMAR and the 92 machine, going way on the bottom. He's got a little bit of help there as Jeremy slides right back up in the 92 machine of Bobby Farrell, I believe
that was
that is.
almost a la Chase Elliott from a couple of years ago, testing the waters.
Look, he's doing it again right now on the 143 machine.
Yeah. And if he's doing that, people are going to take notice. They're going to see that one truck is fast, and they're going to want to go down there and work with him. Right now, he doesn't have any suitors. About 3 truck lengths back is Rodney Sullins. That's why you're going to start to see him get freight trained here on the top side. Martin's going to go to his outside there. Nofsker stays lined up. There's Brian Schilling in the 4. Was riding in the early going, was the defending champ, but now he's up here inside of the top 10. Last time by, crossed in 12th. I believe he's now in the 10th position, looking to take 9th from the 1.
And I do want to point out, Seth, there is a third line trying to form, but I don't know that they're actually going to get their P's and Q's together. It doesn't look like they are.
That was Jeff Crivello, Wiley Cote, and Terry Bombard that might have been trying that third line there, but that's quite a ways back. And really, too, when you're back in traffic like that, you know, you're more inclined to experiment because, as you mentioned, with the stack-up that takes place single file, you feel it more in the middle and rear of the single file train than you do up at the front.
Oh, yeah, you do. And it hinders you for a while, and you start wondering, should I make the move? Should I just sit here? I don't know what I want to do. And you got like several different options that keep running through your head about what you want to do. And it seems like anytime you think about doing it, you think it's the wrong move. That you see someone else do it, and you're like, really? I should have made that move. And then it's like, okay, I'll make the move. And then all of a sudden they're not there.
You see the 038 of Dave Melson getting bypassed there. So he's right now just out there logging laps, hoping that maybe he can pick up a couple of spots here before the end of the race. Maybe have some drivers get involved in a big wreck and gain some points that way. I mean, if the truck's still running, I guess might as well log the laps because you never know what you might end up getting.
I want to go look through the field real quick. Ken Roberts is still running about 181, which is where you actually want to be at for a normal. I believe that's where I was originally when I went to practice and all. Normally with the group, by yourself, it's usually about 181, 182. So that's about right. Robbie Nice is running 182 back here, but we touched on it before. Melson. I honestly think Melson doesn't have a fourth gear because he's still running about 167 and 66, and you can hear the higher gear coming from that machine. So I think he's only in third gear right now. There's no fourth gear in that 38 machine.
There's going to be a problem with that as well because sometimes if you run in third gear at a super speedway and that engine revs enough, it may end up grenading. So, you know, it may be a case of just kind of riding it until either the engine goes south or until maybe the end of this race and maybe pick up a couple of spots. But right now, Dave Belson is pretty much in ride and wait and see mode as we continue to watch the 088 of Tim Nofsker. He's had Brian Schilling locked to his back bumper these last couple of laps. They're trying to make something happen on that high side. They've been able to get alongside of Bobby Farrell. That'd be for 6th position, but haven't been able to pass him just yet. They now pick up the 23 of Doug Kulik, the 003 of David Cannon's going to jump up there as well. So you got kind of have a split up here. You got 7 trucks on the inside. You got 5 trucks on the outside. And then you got another group on the inside coming up here, led by the 6 of Kyle Lawson.
And I do want to point out, the more they continue to race and get really, really aggressive with each other side by side like that, I do want to point out, like, it will probably... I don't know how long it might take, depending on if they can do anything. I want to check and see how much progress they're making. But they got 3 vehicles right here, nose to tail, of Wayne Prebnow, Greg Palmer, and Jason Scheck. Scheck leading this group of 3 here. They've been running single file. They lost touch, and I'm guessing that was due to the restart that they had a while back. I'm not really sure on that, but
might have been stuck behind the 55 of Roberts, perhaps.
But, I mean, they're running here, and all it takes is them to get really aggressive and start checking up so much with this group. And they're running 3 wide here. Schilling and Oscar are up on the high side, so that's going to hinder that middle line just a little bit. That inside line is where you want to be at when they start doing that free wide, bit up there. And it's just, I don't know, Seth. I don't know if that 3-car run that they got is going to be any effective or not, but who knows? We'll just have to wait and see.
Last time by, they were running about 6 seconds behind the race leader, or I make that 8 seconds behind the race leader, 6 seconds off of Doug Cady, who right now appears to be the last truck in this lead pack as battle on for fourth. Josh Metallic was leading an inside line with Jeffries and Sullins, and Donnie Garrett's now going to jump down there with him. He's alongside of Bob Seminara, almost pushes up into that 712, and if he gets a good enough shove, he may be battling for a top 3 spot. As look at the 17 of Chuck McClure wiggling around there. That's what you were talking about, Jess, the checkup and the chain bumping. We're starting to see a lot of movement up here in this lead group, realizing the inside line is coming, so they're kind of upping the urgency in terms of bump drafting.
Well, remember, we hit on lap 12, roughly about lap 12. We're already halfway through that run again, so we are slowly but surely approaching when green flag pit stops would be if we can get to those. So maybe these guys are trying to get up near the front to try to position themselves, say, okay, well, we've got this amount of fuel left, we need to get to the bottom because we can't be up there playing around too much because there's a big old freight train on this bottom. We need to get to the bottom so we don't get hung out to dry.
Saw the 55 of Ken Roberts. He's going to get put a lap down. I believe that's the 038 of Dave Melson up ahead, about to go a second lap down. And here comes DeSpirito and Seminara. They're going to leave Causey out to dry. McClure saw it coming, so he'll jump down there. Now Causey left to fall back to Bob Dixon in the 143. And you mentioned it too, drivers positioning themselves here on the eve of pit stops. We hear it so many times. Drivers talk about that, saying, yeah, I could gain some spots with hot pitting on pit road, but I'd love to get that 1 or 2 extra spots on the racetrack before that.
Absolutely, and now they're going around Nelson again. Glenn Harris falling back now. I'm guessing he's just went a lap down as well. So now it becomes a little bit more frantic with those drivers who are a lap down trying to position themselves in case a caution does come out. Because, and you can blame me if you want, I don't care. They can just deal with me next season. But if the caution might come out when they pit, because we've seen that happen quite a bit during pit stop, Seth, and it screws up a little bit of the running order based on drivers trying to pit, coming into pit road, leaving pit road, and drivers that are on the track. But if that caution does happen to rear its ugly head, then you want to make sure you are the car that is eligible for that lucky dog. And with all these cars going lap down, they're going to be kind of stepping up their game to make sure they are the first car lap down now.
Yeah, Chuck McClure for sure will probably be one of the first onto pit road if we do get to that round of green flag pit stops. He's been out in front the entirety of this run. He's led 26 of the laps so far. The only other drivers that have taken a turn out in front, that was under our first caution under pacing. Terry Bombard led a lap, and then Robbie Nisus led a lap. We saw the 8 of Glenn Harris go a lap down. He was the one driver that I had a little bit of a question on whether he'd be up to speed after seeing the contact that was sustained in that wreck on the back straightaway. He did catch air. While that looked relatively harmless, the first hit he took when he nosed it into the outside safer bear, I was wondering if that was going to hurt that truck aerodynamically. Obviously, the answer is yes. He's now fallen back into a free pass position. Second car, 1 lap down. Ken Roberts is the first truck 1 lap down, but obviously that 8 truck off the pace. So not the way he wanted to start out the season for the driver of the Krispy Kreme Chevy Silverado. And now you see top 5, 6, 7, they're all down there hugging that yellow line, which means those pit stops, they're coming up pretty soon.
Yes, they are indeed. And you got these drivers that are going to try to stay out and maybe gain a little bit of position to go that 1 extra lap, which could actually mean a lot at the end. Here they come.
How about that? McClure, well, I was going to say by himself, but he's got some coming down with him. Brian Schilling, Mark Paglia, Tim Nofsker, Wiley Coate, Jim Gloud, and Doug Cady.
Now, these guys got to be really careful when this pit stop coming up, Seth. I mean, they got to slow down, make sure they give plenty of room to certain people. And they always say when they come in, they're like, hey, I'm going to go up high. All right, I'm going to enter low. And then sometimes the person behind you is like, well, I can only get low at a certain point because we have certain people use assist, Seth, and you know exactly how that feels coming in. Sometimes you got no choice but to go lower than normal or higher than normal just to make it, and they got to position themselves to where, hey, this guy might be 2 mile an hour slower than what I'm going. You really got to pay attention coming on.
Yeah, just to kind of clarify that too, for those that aren't familiar with how NR works in terms of assistance, there is a thing in the track called an LP file, and the higher you have your assistance turned up to, the more likely your car, or truck in this case, is going to follow that LP file. And so in the case of coming to pit road, more than likely there is one dedicated LP on pit lane entry, and that's usually, based on your assistance, where you're going to go. So yeah, people kind of you have to be according to drivers around you, and drivers behind you have to be according to you, and that makes things sometimes a little bit messy on the entry to pit road. One thing that I want to ask you here, just because I'm trying to work the calculators, I'm a little surprised we saw those drivers pit when we did, and now I'm a little surprised with this group as well. This is actually earlier than the scheduled distance of how far they could go on 2 cans of fuel. We went back green on lap 16. They should have been able to go about, what, 6 laps further? 4, 5, 6 laps further than this? And we've got now 2 groups that have come to pit road anywhere from 5 to 10 laps sooner than originally they were scheduled.
Well, my opinion is they probably don't want to be thrown off of their original game plan if you have someone who is really, really good. Like we've seen winners of, I'm just going to throw out a couple of names here, okay? Don't judge here. It's like you got Grant Wesley and you've got Bob Seminara, Jeremy Jeffries, Brian. You see these guys, they're up front, okay? And here comes the other group now coming in. But,
that's a big group.
Yeah, that is a huge group led by
Kelly
Metallic.
Causey, Grant Wesley just got together, and they're spinning. Well, the 88 is spinning through the infield grass. Now Causey has looped it around. I think we may have had somebody miss pit road entry as well. And to your point, since it's off the racing surface, no caution will fly as a result.
That's going to be a hard break for Grant, who was trying his best to get back up after he had that little airborne fun little flight seminar a little earlier. But you get my point. It's going to be hectic to get back for the 88 machine now. After that, he's going to need a caution. Going back to the point I was saying about oh goodness gracious me, what were you asking me again about?
Fuel window, yeah.
Fuel window.
Pit road earlier.
So you said lap 16 we went back to green, right?
Yeah, so they should have been able to make it to lap 36 or 37 before they pit.
Hold on here. 16. I would say okay, so GTS, I would guess right about now would be their fuel window between now and 35.
Yeah, and remember that group with McClure and company, they came down about 5 laps sooner.
Well, now I remember when I was going on with the train of thought, but you got people like Wesley, Novsker, Schilling, Metallic, Seminara, Spirito. You get my point. You got these groups that are always up near the front. Like, okay, and now we see Ken Roberts coming in. This is what we would expect is the normal schedule right here for these guys to make it. But if you see your buddies come in, or you see a group that usually makes the right call, that's always up near the front, near the end of this race, like, yeah, okay, I'll come in with this group this time or next time by, therefore I'm not off with their sequence, because you have a higher feel in your mind that, these guys know what they're doing, they're going to make it to the end. But if you're Ken Roberts, hey, maybe I'll stretch it just a little bit, maybe something will happen. I mean, I believe he's a lap down or two, but you never know. It's all about strategy. Do you go with the normal window, or do you want to stay with the main group that you're familiar with, that you know what can happen, what you can work with in that group? Because it's all about drafting your buddies right now.
Saw the 7-Eleven of John Godfrey heading back from pit road, black flagged for speeding on pit lane. We've talked about it so many times here covering these seasons of the Tally Challenge. Yeah, the racetrack is treacherous, but pit road is just as treacherous. You can win or lose a race on pit road.
I saw Andrew Miller apparently disconnect from TeamSpeak. I don't know if he's out of the race or not.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing him as retired out of the race, so I'm not certain what all happened there with the 47. It didn't appear that he was off the pace, so...
I'll go back and check that out real quick while you call.
All right, we also had another truck that was posted for speeding on pit road, and that was the 111 of Ron Hagelin. I don't know if, yep, there he is, just now serving his penalty, a pass-through, and that is going to put him a lap down as well. Looks like we're going to have a total of 12 trucks up in this lead pack right now, led by Chuck McClure. Mark Paglia is now in second, third Tim Nofsker, fourth Brian Schilling, and Joe DeSpirito will be in the fifth position. Donnie Garrett sixth, Jim Gloud in seventh, Bob Seminares in eighth, then it's Bobby Farrell and Jeremy Jeffries. That is the top 10. It's Josh Metallic and Rodney Sullins who are the completion of the 12 trucks in this lead pack. See a couple more drivers getting put a lap down. That's the 5 of Wiley Coate going a lap down, and Tom Dixon just got put a lap down, but I believe he's actually coming to pit road. And we've got a caution. For the second time today, we've got a yellow flag out, and this is going to be a big break for a bunch of drivers that were either going a lap down or had just been put a lap down.
Yeah, I'm still watching Andrew Miller right now, Seth, unfortunately. You're saying there's a caution. Is there a wreck or is it a phantom?
I'm not certain. I'm scrolling through the field, looking to see if we can pinpoint anything.
What about a possible driver stopping in the stall and getting their sides up and then retiring? That might be a possibility,
I'm wondering if it might have been the 45 of Tom Dixon, because he is just now shown up on my telemetry as in the garage. But we'll see. Maybe it was that Batmobile that may have brought out the second caution of the day just after these drivers had finished up their first round of green flag pit stops.
Yeah, okay, so getting to the issue with Andrew Miller on lap 31, Andrew Miller came in with Cy Jones for a pit stop and a little bit too fast coming in. He barely got in the back of Cy Jones, and that was enough to yank the truck side to side. Both went spinning around. Andrew Miller went to the infield, and he just parked it. So at that point, so I'm guessing he felt kind of bad for getting into the back of Cy Jones at that point, Seth. And I mean, that's commendable, respectful. I mean, but tough break for the 47 of Andrew Miller. So he was running 27th at that moment.
Yeah, tough break. He'll finish 38th here in the season opener. Like an accidental downshift for Tom Dixon going into turn 3. Smoke erupt as the back end of the car right there in the downshift. He might have money shifted there, loops it around, comes back up the track. That was Kyle Lawson, Cy Jones, and Doug Hewlick, I believe, that were right there in the vicinity, and that brings out the caution for the second time today. Wiley Coate and Cy Jones, I believe, were the two drivers that were one lap down, so they'll get the free pass as very congested pit road there.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm watching right now.
A lot of dodging and diving there.
You know, Seth, I don't know if you've ever done this or not, but I mean, I wouldn't mind letting the viewers. I mean, we know how hard and how aggravating it can be under green flag to make a pit stop, right? Having to get from 180, 190, draft around 200, all the way down to 55, and with a big group. A lot of people may not understand how congested and aggravating it can be under caution. If you can, I don't know if you want to or not, but the one machine of Jeremy Jeffries, I was riding with him on pit road as he was leaving pit road. Oh my goodness gracious. All the people pulling in and out in front of him, 3 wide, almost contact. It's just crazy how even under caution at a slow, very slow pace of only 55, 50 mile an hour, how it's calamity everywhere.
Well, here's the onboard. Like a gas and go for the Eagle One Chevrolet.
And just look at it.
Because here's the thing too, Jeremy Jeffries came down in 10th position. There's about 20 other trucks that are coming to their pit stalls ahead of him. There's Katie to the left. Oh gosh, there's Paglia, Rodney Sullins. There's Bobby Farrell.
It's like pandemonium everywhere in front of him.
I'm not good with maps. I don't know what major interstate or highway is around Talladega, Alabama, but it must be like 4 wide traffic there.
But yeah, it is pretty hectic even under caution for pit road, and I mean they're at a more okay, we're in line here. We're coming in the way we're positioned. You know, we're not racing for position. We're all coming in a straight line. Yeah, but look at the pandemonium it creates, Seth.
Like a couple of drivers are going to take the wave around, so this is going to aid them to get back in the lead lap. Glenn Harris in the 8 appears to be one of those drivers. Ron Hagelin and Robbie Nisus as well.
Can I aggravate you real quick?
Put us with, I think, 34 drivers on the lead lap. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So right now, leader is labeled as Joe Spirito, right?
Right.
Look what lap he's on.
Lap 40.
And look at the fuel window. Look at how this is gonna play out, Seth. When you hit,
if this thing goes green to the end.
Yeah, don't jinx it. That's my job.
But this has seemed to happen. I remember this happened quite a bit last season, especially near the end of the season, where projected if it went green to the end, drivers are going to be pinned anywhere in the last 3 to 5 laps coming to the checkered flag. So this just kind of seems like we're picking right up where we left off in season 57.
We got a really star-studded field right here in this top 10. When we go back to restart, we also got Rodney Solons and we got Rodney in 10th over here, Metallic in 11th. A couple of names that we haven't really touched on too much. I do want to point out, have you seen the paint scheme for Jim Gloud in the 72? He's making his show back on this series. I haven't seen him in a while in the RTG Tally Challenge, but driving a Red Robin machine, and you were wanting to touch on a couple more stories before we go back to green for the paint schemes.
Yeah, I want to talk about the 92 of Bobby Farrell. He's got the U.S. Air Force F Series, and right now in the 8th position for this upcoming restart. He's honoring his father, who was in the U.S. Air Force for 4 years, from 1969 to 1972. Also ended up hearing that, I believe it was yesterday morning, Bobby Farrell's father had cataract surgery, so hope that it was successful and that he is doing well. But he ended up saying in the post when he debuted this paint scheme, he showed off this paint scheme, said hope that he could have a good run here tonight in honor of his father, and right now doing a good job of it. That 92 has been up inside the top 10 pretty much the entirety of this evening. He was up in that lead pack when the caution came out, so executed a great green flag pit stop.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't really, I mean, sometimes when they say, hey, you really haven't talked about me too much. Well, you know, we understand that we can't give you a lot of airtime, but it's a good thing in a way, because that means you haven't been in any trouble whatsoever. Exactly. So, I mean, Bobby Farrell, I've raced with him quite a bit in the past, and he used to run a series over in a different team a while back, and was always very competitive, always near the front, especially at Daytona. So on this Talladega, I understand a little bit of difference with the trial and on the narrow versus the wide backstretch, but Bobby Farrell knows how to get it done on a plate track, so we should be making sure we keep tabs on that 92 machine, Seth, as we saw the wave around drivers going around trying to catch up to the back of the field as we're about to get ready to go back to green with, like, what, 19 to go?
Gonna be about 19 to go, you're right. Closing in here.
You can make it from the, no, you can't. I was about to say.
Oh, no, actually, it would be 25 laps to go.
Okay, yeah. I'm sitting there looking at the 6 and the 40, okay? Leave me alone. I don't like math.
No, it's okay. I'm with you.
Like
I hate math as well. I hate the fact that usually broadcasting, 99% of it involves math, but, you know.
Charles isn't here to back me up, okay? Leave me alone.
Lights out atop that pace truck. We're getting ready to go back green with Joe DeSpirito and Chuck McClure, the front row. Working our second caution of the day. It's only been our second yellow. We had a really big wreck in the beginning stages of the race that ended up having a couple of trucks damaged and off the pace. Just a solo truck spin here, bringing out the second yellow. 36 trucks still running, 34 of them on the lead lap. Actually 37 trucks are still running. The only truck out of the race is Andrew Miller, and I believe we will have the 45 of Tom Dixon this next lap around come to pit road. He had a black flag that he had to serve, and he was not able to serve it under caution. He'll have to serve it when we go back green. That is if he's still running, because I don't know how that thing would still be running when we ended up seeing smoke trailing from him out of turn 3.
Sorry about that, but the 5 machine did not get a really good start on that, and it kind of like jammed up the 111 of Ron Hagelin back here, and got a little gap between Cy Jones and I think it's Wiley Coat in the 5. I'm trying to remember the numbers here.
Ooh, Tim Knopfsker getting tight there off of turn 2. I'm waiting to see, trying to look back there. I don't see the 45 of Tom Dixon, so the telemetry is not updated if he's out of the race. It is showing that he is still having to serve a black flag penalty, but I'm pretty certain he is done for the day.
I want to point out something real quick. And I'm not trying to take favorites or anything here, so, and I'm not trying to suck up to anyone, just FYI. But, look at that inside line. Weren't we just talking about Knopfsker and Schilling and, I mean, we were talking about Jeremy on pit road, but Knopfsker, Schilling, they were in the back there trying to make something work. They were caught in the middle, and where are they now?
And remember, too, they ended up gaining a lot of that track position. Oh, Knopfsker's going to get spun by Brian Schilling right in front of the pack. Paglia's involved.
Whoa, high side.
Kyle
Into
Lawson,
David
Jim
Cannon.
Cloud,
Bobby Farrell gets tapped.
Blocked up.
Paglia,
oh, no.
Over and
Knopfsker
out.
and Paglia are barrel rolling.
Kyle Lawson's involved. Jeez, who wasn't involved in that one?
Well, a lot of trucks got on the... Oh, man, another shot there. Wiley Coat into Jim Glaude. A lot of trucks near the back were able to get on the brakes somehow.
Seminara, Jeremy, Jeffrey, Schilling.
David Cannon got damage on the back end, looks like.
McClure and Despirito, those guys have reached the start finish line. Despirito will lead them back to the caution set, but man, you saw all that stuff happen in the middle to the bottom. You got people on the high side too trying to check up stuff, and it just got completely closed down. The whole interstate just shut down like it was back on the weather for the ice storm again.
Knopfsker was battling for the lead. He had a rear deck lid completely full of Brian Schilling. Schilling was shoving him out of turn 2. Like it just snapped loose perhaps there, maybe an uneven bump. And as you mentioned, the 088 spun back up the track, which completely clogged the exit of turn 2, and drivers scattering to try and find out where to go. The thing I'm curious about is, how did the 088 and the 28 start flipping on the backstretch? Because it looked like it was going to be deja vu from our first wreck of the day with just a lot of trucks spinning, and then suddenly we ended up having a couple of flips. There's Paglia, there's Doug Hulick. What happens here? Paglia spins. Oh, Paglia was able to get back straight, pushes the throttle, and unfortunately broadsides the 088 of Knopfsker. Look at the 99 of Doug Woolley. When he spun, he straightened out the 28, and it was just an unfortunate angle of that hit there. And I think when the 088 flipped over, it kind of grabbed the sheet metal of the 28, and they synchronized barrel rolled there down towards the inside wall.
Yeah, riding with Bob Seminary in the 712 set, was told that maybe the 712 got a really good look at everything that happened here. So if you want to check into that one.
Take a look at that in a minute. I want to see what happens here with Kyle Lawson, because there was a secondary back here. Oh, yeah, Farrell, when he gets squeezed up into the wall by Paglia, he gets Lawson. Doug Cady's going to hit pretty good there into the inside wall. Bob Dixon, John Godfrey, Wayne Pribnow. There you see left side of your screen. That's Greg Palmer in the 22. Oh, we've had the big one, and then the big one part 2. Oh, there's where Jim Glaude gets hit by Wiley Coat. I think Glaude was trying to leave the scene of the accident, and Wiley didn't realize that. Well, let's take that on board with the 712.
That's up near the front where the Knopfsker and Schilling incident is.
Boy, I'll be honest, I know there were a lot of drivers involved in that, but I'm surprised there weren't more drivers involved with where that was on the racetrack and where it was in the field, right up at the front.
Do yourself a favor, 54 Robbie Knights is in the Jones Soda Company machine. Can you go on board for a second with him?
And indeed, there you saw the miss by Bob Seminara. Let's see what Robbie Nices saw as he was quite a ways towards the back.
He saw everything, including the Glaude incident, too. I mean,
look at it. Wiley Coat just ahead of him. See the smoke right there off of turn 2. Like I said, a lot of drivers back here did a good job of kind of Dale Jr.ing it, getting on the brakes. But Ron Hagelin got into the back of Wiley Coat. I think Cy Jones was able to snake his way through. Jason Scheck right there in the 44. He came to a stop. There was
Yeah,
another
but
truck that was up on
he
the...
got a little clip there. The 44 machine did.
Another truck that was just ahead of Robbie Nice up there on the top side. Looked like he got on the brakes in time. I don't know exactly who that was. If I could find out, I think, was it maybe Ken Roberts in the 55? Yeah, it was. This is on board with Ken, who this was important for him not to be involved because he was the first truck one lap down, so this puts him back on the lead lap with the free pass. Using the wall there a little bit to scrub off some speed. There you see David Cannon, Mike Rogers, they got involved there. And left side of your screen, there you see Novsker and Paglia going for that wild tumble. Robert's going to snake the inside there on Jim Glaude, and he makes it through. I believe the other truck that's going to get the free pass would be the 038 of Dave Melson.
Yeah, he's the one up high on that right now.
And Doug Woolley, former champion of the Tally Challenge Series. Haven't seen him for a while, making his return to the series. Looks like he is done for the evening, so he will join Tom Dixon and Andrew Miller back in the garage area.
Well, it took them 40-some laps, and it's now out of their system, so let's hope that's the last one we see right now, because we always hear from the real-life commentators of NASCAR stuff, cautions, precautions, but at the same time, we're looking at, okay, they got out of their systems, are they going to ride carefully, or with about 20 laps now, and they should be able to make it from here on out if they, manage themselves pretty good. They should be able to make it the rest of the way at this point. Are they going to be able to manage their P's and Q's, or will that aggression go through the roof early in this run for them to try to position themselves? Seth, what do you think?
Well, you mentioned it. We're no longer going to have to worry about fuel. We should be right on the number for these drivers to make it the rest of the way. They're even going to get another couple of laps here under pacing to save fuel. The gloves are off, I think. I think at this point in time, you're now racing to the checkers, and look at this. A couple of drivers making absolutely certain they're going to make it on fuel, perhaps. Top off the fuel tank. Kelly Causey and Jeremy Jeffries and others. Rodney Sullins, Josh Metallic. So there you go, a little gamesmanship going on here in the closing stages. But going back to your question, I mentioned it at the top of the broadcast. Everyone's got a clean slate. We're all starting at 0 points. So right now could kind of set the tone for your season. And a lot of times when we see drivers win that season opener, we ask them in post-race interviews, does this take a huge load off your chest, a huge load off your mind now that you've got that one in the win column and you've got a locked up playoff spot? Now you only have to worry about being in the top 20 of the point stands. It's a resounding yes. So I think we're going to see maybe one of the most aggressive restarts so far here tonight.
I do want to bring up the point here that I don't remember, I don't think it was last season stuff, but I think it might have been the season before last. Remember how we had different winners in the first several different races and everything else, and it was always someone else winning.
We had 10 winners in the 10 regular season races.
You got to remember, now it's 12 openings that are available for the playoffs. But if we get something like that again, yeah, you want to win that second one to ensure 100% you are locked in.
And not necessarily a guarantee that we're going to have a multiple-time winner this season. You mentioned 12 playoff spots, but only 8 regular season races. So, we add an extra race onto the playoff schedule, but we take 2 away from the regular season schedule. So, not as many opportunities to be able to get that guaranteed lock-in with 2 or 3 wins in the regular season, as Joe DeSpirito and Chuck McClure, they've been on that front row quite a number of times here tonight for these restarts, and they're going to rekindle that rivalry again here with less than 20 to go. Should be, I believe, 19 to go when they hit the line. Want to real quickly thank our sponsor, Ultimate Garage Floors, for them bringing this broadcast to you here tonight, the Flatout Racing Network. And we will obviously be having them on board for the entirety of this season, bringing you coverage of Season 58 of the Talladega Challenge Series. As here we go. Is it the final restart of the night? We'll have to wait and see. Joe DeSpirito going to bring us down to the green flag. Oh! Big stack up. That was a huge stack up in the restart, and Joe DeSpirito, Bernie Mobbs are going to pay the price for it. Jeremy Jeffries also paid the price for that.
Joe DeSpirito, I'm getting told, is apparently blown second gear on that restart
gosh, that's huge, especially if he's going to be starting up at the front in a late race restart.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got to really work himself to get back up there now. I mean, yeah, he's still someone in the top, what is it now? He fell back to, where is he going to be at the line here? He fell back to officially 10th at the moment in the inside line. That's going to be kind of hectic to get back up there because he's got a lot of good trucks on that high side. And that high side is where you want to be at this point. And there's a little gap between Crivello and DeMar starting to form. So, I mean, with all that run that's happening there, Joe's got to really have a lot of help to get back up there at this point.
Take a look at the drivers we got up at the front right now. Chuck McClure, he won the season opener 2 seasons ago. You got Bob Seminara there in second, and Grant Wesley, the champion from 2 seasons ago, there in the 3rd position. I cast my memory back to the final elimination race of last season. Seminara made it in on points. Wesley made it in on a must-win situation, but those two were door-banging to the start-finish line. There was a little extracurricular activity, so you got to wonder with the off-season, have the tempers cooled down? Is the rivalry put to bed? We'll have to wait and see here.
And look at who's in 4th here. Someone that we really don't talk about too much. Doug Hewlick in the 23 machine.
Well, remember last season, Nate Balser, who had only made a limited number of starts the season prior, picked up the victory, his first career win in the Tally Challenge. Doug Hewlick, to my memory, has never won. Was it?
2 seasons ago, sir.
Nate Balser won last season.
Last season? I thought it was 2 seasons ago.
No, that was McClure who won on Fuel 2 seasons ago.
Yeah. I thought Nate won 2 seasons ago for his first race.
No, that was actually last season.
Really?
Yep. Unfortunately, he wasn't in the top 20 in points, so he wasn't able to get a playoff spot by the end of the regular season.
Okay,
but, lightning can strike twice, though. I don't think Doug Hewlick has a Tally Challenge victory in his career.
Not to my knowledge, he does not.
So we could end up having another first-time winner in the season opener in back-to-back seasons.
That high side's starting to get something going. I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah, here comes a little bit of a 3-wide issue here. They're starting to warm themselves up, Seth, and Jeremy Jeffries on that bottom trying to go somewhere, going around Crivello in the 56 machine, looking underneath DeMar. You've got Wiley Coate, Joe DeSpirito, and Josh Metallic on that high side trying to get something formed up and lined up to go. And Jeremy trying to possibly squeeze his way in, and he does behind DeMar in the 43.
Wait, did you just say Wiley Coate just outside the top 10? He was a lap down about 15 laps ago, and now he's back up here at the front.
Well, I mean, he caught a lucky break. I'm guessing he's on the lead lap. I don't know if I misread that. I know he's in line.
By 11th place for that number 5. Maybe it was the number change. Wiley Coate had really strong runs last year. He just couldn't seem to follow it up, would get caught up in late race incidents, but maybe the number change is the difference here this season.
And Jeremy Jeffries not getting any help at all on that bottom. He's continuing to slide back slowly, Seth. I mean, it's a pain in the rear, trust me. You know that if you had a lot of people on that bottom with you when they're 3 wide like this, you have an opportunity to make it work. And we've seen that in the past. That bottom gets a huge run if you get several, cars nose to tail on that bottom. But then when you ain't got nobody down there to help, it's kind of like in that middle line, Seth. You're just going to go to the back. And now he slots back in, but damage has been done to where the position's losing for that one machine at the moment.
Donnie Garrett in the 77 leading the top line now with Josh Metallic and Joe DeSpirito. Had a couple of podium finishes last year, did Donnie Garrett. I believe he actually had a couple of runner-up finishes. Was unable to find victory lane, but maybe if he can get enough momentum here as he's side-by-side, well, not quite side-by-side for 4th with Doug Hewlick, he might be able to pick up his first win in a long time. I believe the last time Donnie Garrett went to victory lane was about 3 or 4 seasons ago, so trying to get himself back to victory circle.
Now, he's had a lot of internet issues that have plagued him in the past that has pretty much ruined his season, you know, and hopefully I haven't seen any internet issues from S57 tonight, Seth, so maybe this is a good omen here, and he's making the best of it at the moment. He's got himself positioned really good on the high side. Josh Metallic right behind him, about to give him a huge shot right here. Side by side for fourth with Doug Hewlett, looking for more on Grant Wesley as they go into 3.
I can't remember about Donnie Garrett, but I do know Josh Metallic was one
Left
of the
car.
number of drivers that came to pit road at the 1 to green there under the last caution. Most of your drivers up here inside of the top 5, they did not. So if they're close on fuel, you'd have to think the 17 out in clean air is really in danger of maybe running out of fuel, and then maybe the other 4 behind him. That 39 of Josh Metallic might be in the catbird seat. He might be the highest running right now that could make it the furthest on fuel due to pitting at the 1 to green.
I don't know if Jeremy Jeffries is causing a little bit of an aggravation to these other guys up here on this line, because he keeps trying and he keeps gaining and he loses a couple spots. He was right alongside Demar once again, and I don't know, Seth, at this point in time, what line would you want to be part of?
Honestly, I'd want the inside line just because I think that'd be the safest place to get through a wreck if it happens.
Are you banking on a last-second wreck, Seth? Is that what you're banking on?
Remember, we've ended up having a number of races last season that ended under caution with a wreck taking place during the point of no return. Now, we got a little ways before we hit that, about another 7 laps before we'd end up hitting completion of lap 62, which is usually point of no return. Next flag ends the race. But, I mean, as of right now, these guys aren't necessarily taking away room from each other. They're racing pretty cleanly, so we might get to that point of no return here.
And Schilling had been falling back, and now he's got a little bit of draft in front of him as we see a red machine of Crivello make the bottom transition here. But I'm looking at Bernie Mobs. I'm not sure if it's a damage or not, Seth, but we never really touched on this throughout this race. Being the last car in a specific line of draft, just you can't get to the back end. You've got to have that person behind you shoving you. And now Kelly Causey comes to the back of that 31 machine to give him a little bit of assistance as he starts to close back in on the 43 Demar.
Yeah, that was a perfect example right there, what you were describing. He was about 4 car lengths off the back of Richard Martin, but then as soon as the 00 pulled up to his back bumper, they closed that gap up really quickly through 1 and 2. That's been another thing as we get close to the end of this race that we'll have to see. A lot of drivers have tried making moves in the closing stages of these races, and normally they're all by themselves. They aren't able to pick up an ally. We'll have to see if that's what drivers have to plan for here in the closing stages, to make a move all by themselves, make that momentum work all by their lonesome, because more often than not, that 3rd or 4th place truck, they try and go for another lane to go for the win for themselves.
Yeah, it's all about wanting that big W, and you know, even though a win is great and locks you in, sometimes it's better in your mind, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and not do that. I'll just go ahead and get 3rd or 5th. That way I got points and I won't cause a wreck, because there's always that opportunity to get that win, but do you really want to risk that and then having the penalty come down on you to EOL you in case you are at fault for that incident? I mean, that's going to be a hit as well. So it's risk versus reward, like they always say, Seth.
Yeah, we talked about at the top of the broadcast with the new reformatted playoff system, as there was contact there between Rodney Sullins and Richard Martin around the 5th spot.
Oh, wow. Well, I said Mark McClure. I don't know why. I was looking at the number 4 and I thought about Eric McClure for a minute. I meant to say Paglia and Jason Scheck back here. They've almost got to go, Seth. And if you're back here where they're at, are you just... I mean, I know you want to be up near the front battling for this, but it's like, okay, we got 7, 8 laps. Okay, I know what's going to happen. They're going to get really aggressive. Is that what your mindset is, that they're going to get too aggressive, cause a wreck, and you're just going to go through it at this point?
I would have to think so. I think for Paglia in the 28, he might not have a truck strong enough to work his way up to the front. I've been noticing him kind of just hanging back there. He did get some pretty good contact in that last wreck on the back straightaway, so he may have some aero damage, may just be riding in the draft. Might be one of those cases where you can stay with the lead pack if you've got someone behind you, but not necessarily can push somebody up to the front. But we nearly ended up having our 4th caution of the day there.
Whoa,
Look
there,
at
making a move.
this! Doug McClure throws the block, but Seminara was there, and now he'll pick up Richard Martin. No,
Here comes
58
Grant.
was clear, and there goes Jeffries.
Jeremy off.
On the apron. Are they going to let him back up? Yes, Bernie Mobs is going to move up and let him back in line.
A little bit of hectic back here. They're kind of a little bit shifty back here, but they managed to make it all work quite nice and cleanly, Seth. I mean, that could have been a really bad issue right there happening near the front like that.
There's nothing like an incident at the front of the field that takes mid-pack in the rear of the field to stand up and take notice and then start shuffling themselves, because they see the momentum that's lost up at the front and they want to take every opportunity to take advantage. Now Grant Wesley, after McClure jumped to the bottom to block Seminara, he's got Doug Hulick pushing him for the race lead.
And all of that rage from the drivers in the back saying, why didn't you guys race?
Where's our caution? Yeah, we're closing in on that point of no return here as well. I believe when we come around next time by, we might be at the point of no return, since we do have a few lap machines, including the 038 of Dave Melson, who just went a 4th lap down.
Okay, remember, Seth, about the fuel mileage. It's going to be close.
And the 17 and the 88 both did not come to pit road at 1 to green.
I'm not going to say
leaning on
who,
each other
but
to the
yeah.
start-finish line.
Not mentioning names, but I'm just going to say this is going to come down to possibly something surprisingly happening here, Seth Cole, and we might actually have a real battle shaping up, not just for the win, but who can make it on fuel. Who was the driver who gambled and gambled accurately enough to make the dice roll in their favor? We will find out. We're just laps away from that moment. The only thing that might be able to save them right now is if they do get that caution. 54 is really close to the 111 machine, 3 wide back here, Seth. They're really trying to go for it, and Robbie Nisus is running 24th at the moment, and this is a battle up here for the 20th position.
We are now at 4 laps to go, point of no return, so we're going to give you the usual disclaimer. If trouble breaks out, we'll look back at it post-race, but for now, we're going to stay up with the race leaders.
Wayne Pribnow got a little bit bumped right there. I'll pay attention back here. You call the action up front, Seth, and we'll just leave it at that.
Big push down the back straightaway. Doug Hulick and Grant Wesley, the neon yellow on both of those race trucks there in that second groove. Wesley about halfway alongside of Chuck McClure, but McClure again gets a nice entry into turn 3. Gonna maybe try and clear up before, can't do it.
Now, Robbie. Oh, there they go. Mark Pagley on the back end of the 54.
Is the caution out? I can't tell. We're racing back to the stripe.
It is not out. It is still green.
No caution. We're still racing. 3 to go here at Dega.
Wayne Pribnow was right behind. He was really high up, hit the wall, almost bounced off. Pagley was there right behind him to smack him in the back end. Nothing anyone could do. It was just almost a 3-4 wide issue, and Paglia ended up being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Not due to his fault, just hard racing with Robbie Nisus and Wayne Pribnow.
You got to go 10 rows deep of double wide before you see your first 3 wide. You got to wonder, everybody's kind of boxed in right now. Does anybody up near the front try and make a third lane? Because right now it's the McClure versus Wesley show in the middle and inside line.
And I apologize. I believe it was Robbie Nisus that hit the, we got into the Mark Pagley machine, I believe.
Here comes the third line. Third line's coming. 2 to go. That's Terry Bombard up there on the top. I think he's got Dave Cannon in tow. No, it's Bob Dixon, rather.
From back here in 28th, I see that third high line up there, Seth. They also got Jason Shack. Looks like Schilling's up there.
McClure, I think, is clear for a moment for the lead, but he keeps himself dedicated to the inside line. Big push again from Hulick to the back of Grant Wesley. Wesley's going to edge ahead into 3. Oh, contact! They got squirrely. They saved it, but that killed the momentum of the entire outside line.
The question is, are they going to make it on fuel up near the front, Seth? That is the main question. Can we get back to the checkered flag, and can they make it one more lap? 2.66 is going to take forever in their world to get to it.
McClure about to lead his 49th lap of the race. Can he lead lap 50 and get the checkered flag as the white flag was just displayed? Look at that third line. Terry Bombard, now Ronnie Sullins is going to jump up there and test the waters. Wesley with a push again from the 23. Bombard's in the wall.
There they go. There they
Big
go.
wreck on the back straightaway.
We'll
Wesley still continuing to get pushed. Now Mike Rogers going to get spun around. He catches air, flips over the 6 of Kyle Lawson, and Wesley is clear for the top spot.
Huge wreck back here.
McClure's out of fuel. McClure is out of fuel. The 17 is dropping.
Seminaire is out of fuel. 712 off of turn 4.
Hewlett to the top.
Oh, there's contact between them.
Doug Hewlett looking for his first career win. Godfrey gonna push the 23. Wesley's out of fuel. Drag race to the line, 3 wide. Godfrey, Sullins, it's Godfrey in the 7-11 who picks up the season opener win. Are you kidding? I think the 23 may have been sputtering at the start-finish line, and Godfrey made the move on the top. Sullins dove to the bottom, and I'm waiting for scoring. 23 1,000s between Godfrey to Sullins. 53 1,000 separated the top 3. Oh my goodness. John Godfrey, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is his second career win in the series. And what a job by the 7-11.
Seth.
Holy cow.
Somewhere in the background I'm hearing this old familiar voice coming across saying, "Have you ever?"
I'm hearing a familiar voice say, if it were Michael in the booth, Gilbert Godfrey has won this race.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there was a lot of action on that last one. Like I said, there was that one with Robbie Nice's wing prim now, and I believe Mark Padley all together at that point. It was just a case of coming off the wall, bouncing into someone, bouncing way down there, and then boom in the back. I mean, I hate that for Mark Paglia and Robbie. They were doing a pretty decent job where they were, and things just happened. But that last lap, Seth, you've got to go back. There's not just that one incident. There's a couple more incidents, including there was a point where there was, you said that the 17 machine ran out of fuel. Well, the 712 ran out of fuel right behind them, and they made contact off of 4 as well. I don't know if that pushed them back on the track. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to see that part. But there was a lot more incidents that happened on that backstretch besides that main caution.
There was a lot that we have to go back and take a look at. Let's
goodness.
start first with the incident that I thought was going to more than likely bring the caution out. Didn't see the initial of it, saw the tail end of it down the bottom of the screen, the Mark Paglia, number 28, going around. But I think because this was at the rear of the field with no oncoming traffic, that's why the caution wasn't thrown.
They went below the yellow line, too. And when he actually went all the way around to where a caution would come out with the more than the degrees of spin, it was, I believe, right there at the yellow line and underneath it. So I think that's one of the reasons why they did not throw the caution as well.
There you see what happened there, the now Nices and Paglia incident. That did not bring out the caution. They made it to the white, but what a final lap it was. Let's see if we can pinpoint. Actually, somebody came to pit road in the closing stages. That was Ken Roberts in the 55s. Looked like he couldn't make it on fuel and had to dive for pit lane. Let's see who this starts with. I believe it began potentially with the end of Terry Bombard, I think. He was the first truck I saw out of shape. Yeah, David Cannon, who was pushing him. Actually, he had a little side-by-side contact with our race winner, John Godfrey, there out of turn 2. Godfrey pushes up, Bombard's pinching down, they make contact. Ryan Schilling was right behind that. Wow, that's a wild ride for both Bombard and David Cannon.
And he got so close, but I don't know how, but Jeremy Jeffries did not get contact on that one.
He was right behind that as well, as was Metallic. I think that was the only 2 trucks that were involved in that incident, incredibly enough.
And then right in front of that incident, what happened was Seminara and the 17, they both ran out of fuel going into 4.
Oh, we also had another follow-up incident before
Yeah.
that. That was Mike Rogers, and was that Doug Cady, I think, that got together? Because the 011 went up and over the hood of the 6 of Kyle Lawson. Oh, yeah, it looks like Mike Rogers squeezes Jason Scheck up into the wall. And look at that. Oh, wow. Then Wiley Coate and Doug Cady get together. Some air caught as the right side tires came up on the 143 of Bob Dixon. Our replay technicians getting some overtime here.
Oh my gosh. I do want to recommend one small thing if I can, Seth.
Yep.
Ride with the 7-Eleven coming to the that whole front stretch when you get a moment when he at the end of that, because that's just hectic. He got right to the back end, got that 23 loose, and that's all it took, just a little bump.
Hey, we'll take a look at that. Boy, there's a lot of trucks that took some hard hits here in this wreck on the back straightaway. Ron Hagelin was involved, Jim Glaude. There you saw Bob Dixon catch air, Bobby Farrell, Doug Cady. Watch the 72 here as he spins around, and then, oh, just the distribution of weight as him flipping and barrel rolling through the grass in the middle of 3 and 4, and actually capsized, came to rest on its roof. And here's all of what takes place afterwards. McClure in the 17 runs out of fuel. Bob Seminara in the 712 runs out of fuel. I was wondering how the 88 got such a run down the back straightaway. Well, now we know. Right there is where the 17 runs out of fuel. 712 is going to run out of fuel right about the same time, it looks like. Everybody going to migrate to the top side. And here was, off of turn 4, the contact between the 17 and the 712. And then here is a look at what happened here coming to the start-finish line. If I recall correctly, I think last year, Doug Hewlick was in the conversation for a victory and ran out of fuel through the tri-oval, I think it was. I believe based off of what we saw here, I think he might have been sputtering again. Yeah, right there, I think he may have been starting to run out of fuel. Godfrey gets around him, as does Rodney Sullins. Yeah, he definitely had run out of fuel about a few hundred feet shy of the start-finish line. And what a finish we had there, my
Barely.
goodness.
Hey, Seth. One way to start a new season on a track like this.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
We ended with a really, really good battle. Excitement last season. We had a couple little exhibition races with a few RTG members in that Virtua 8 series. And we also had the Winter Classic where Jeremy won, and that was a nail biter as well. And just rolling right over to the new year. Everything just rolling right over constantly, and another instant classic what we got tonight.
Absolutely. Well, John Godfrey, I can remember last season, it just seemed like he was consistent but couldn't close out the deal. Finished way down in the point standings. What a turnaround here in 2023 for him. And this was your finish at the start-finish line. Godfrey over Sullins over Hewlick. I'm actually here. It looks like some other drivers ran out of fuel coming to the line. Hewlick ran out of fuel. Grant Wesley ran out of fuel. He was able to just barely nab a top 10 in 8th. I believe the 31 of Bernie Mobbs was running out of fuel. Look at Jeremy Jeffries finishing in 5th. He had that great save on the back straightaway there. He's able to get a top 5 run.
Kelly Causey, you were talking about Kelly Causey having somewhat of an issue earlier on. Look at him. He finishes in the top 10 right there in 7th as well.
Look at 7th and 8th. Causey and Wesley, they were the two that got together on pit road. They spun through the infield grass on that cycle green flag pit stop. So great comebacks for both of those drivers. Palmer's going to bring it home in 9th. I think he was involved in at least 2 of the big ones here today.
And look at that. The 712 way down there in 26. I don't know where the 17 is. I haven't gotten down there yet. And remember, the Spirito
finished in 32nd.
And you remember the Spirito earlier had that blown gear issue. Now set him way back, and he was able to manage to stay around top 10. Fell back a little bit, and he was able to stably bring it home in 12th. So I mean, not exactly the day the 24 machine won it, but still I mean, I'd rather take that than nothing at all at this point.
Absolutely. How about the good runs? Bernie Mobs completing the top 10, and Wayne Pribnow. What a way to start out the season for him. 11th place here tonight. A couple of other drivers that we didn't really talk a whole lot about this evening. To your point, not necessarily getting the best of finishes, but certainly a lot better than finishing outside the top 30. Jeff Crivello there in 16th, Kyle Lawson in 17th place. So good runs by those drivers. They all managed to cross the start finish line under their own power. But then the fallout from the two big wrecks that we had here in this race, of course, the calamity of that final lap. Some big names going to have some work to do here in the last 7 races of this regular season. Nofsker in 31st, McClure in 32nd after running out of fuel. Paglia back in 27th. Seminary, as you mentioned, in 26th. Doug Woolley, a former champion, out of the race in the 36th position. Dave Melson, who had issues from the very start. We're assuming he lost 4th gear, 4 laps down there in the 35th position. Tom Dixon, Andrew Miller didn't reach the conclusion of this race. So the good news and the bad news. The good news is that it's early on in the season. If you're in a hole, you can kind of dig yourself out of it. The bad news is you're in that hole. You probably didn't want to be in that hole.
Are you sure you were going to say that? Because I could have sworn somewhere in the back of my mind I was hearing, I found a nickel. I named it Philip. It's a girl nickel. But anyway, I mean, Seth, it's early. You're already in the hole. The only thing you can really think about now is gotta race it smart, try to finish it consistent and get some good finishes in there. And if you got a chance to go for a win, we only got 8 races. It's risk versus reward. At this point in time, we already saw what race 1 produced, and we've seen a trend in the series, Seth, where you'll have some non-caution races involved by a whole bunch of weird happenings, and all of a sudden weird happenings then followed by some good no caution phantoms or nothing. So you never know what we're going to get next race. So I don't know whether it's, hey, I don't care, I'm going for it right now, or I just want to be consistent, finish in the top 10. It's risk versus reward either way you look at it. But that's race 1 right now, Seth. You want to see if they've actually gained their breath down there and talked to someone who I don't think we've ever had the pleasure of interviewing, I don't believe, which is the 23 machine of Doug Hewlett.
See if we can dial him up. Hey, Doug, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I do got a copy in you guys. How you guys doing this evening? Did you enjoy
I'll
the
tell you
show?
what, yeah, we're just now beginning to catch our breath after what we saw go down there in the closing stages of this race. We knew that a number of drivers are going to be close on fuel. We didn't know how close, and we certainly got the answer to that question. But man, you're leading this race off of turn number 4. The 88 had run out of fuel. You were able to get around him. You had the 712 behind you. Now, we believe from what we saw, it looked like maybe you were sputtering there just a couple hundred feet from the start finish line. Was that the case?
Absolutely. The old Toyota Tundra Coker College just putted out right there, John. The 7-Eleven bumped me, and as soon as he bumped me, maybe that gas tank shook a little bit, and pickup missed some fuel. Who knows what happened, but she sputtered, and that was enough.
Well, obviously, I know that you would have loved to have won this race, but a lot of big news coming into this new season, this 58th season, of the fact that the playoffs are being opened up from 10 drivers in the top 10, the point standings, now to 12. You didn't get the checkered flag, but how important was it for you here tonight to have the good, consistent podium run to kind of set the tone here for what's going to be a really short regular season in the attempt to make it into the playoffs?
Well, the playoffs are always the ultimate goal for anybody who comes out here, and starting off third, I'll take that every day of the week.
We talked about driver mentality here with the season opener. Clean slate, everybody starts at 0. Could you kind of feel the aggressiveness out there, maybe ramped up just a little bit, knowing that basically there was nothing to lose, everything to gain, and if you ended up making a mistake, well, you got 7 more races to be able to kind of remedy it?
Well, I looked at the race at the beginning. I'm like, okay, well, I had some carpal tunnel surgery done a week and a half ago, and I got sutures out today. So, and unfortunately, it's my left hand. And as you know, when you're racing, it's pretty much left-handed dominant. And I drove most of the race with my right hand, and it just really was something to get used to. for quite some time. Being aggressive, I was just trying to hang in there and just stay consistent. I made some mistakes in previous races and what line to be in or what line not to be in or when to change. And unfortunately, I didn't get an opportunity to even change any lanes until, he ran out of gas in front of me. But uh, I don't look at it as trying to be aggressive. I just look at it trying to avoid it and not get in any trouble and not causing any trouble.
I have a question, Doug. And by the way, great job finishing top three. That was really nice to see you up there. And I thought you actually had a shot at the very end at that point. And rooting for you because we really like seeing first time winners here. And I was thinking it could happen, but just didn't seem to. Things didn't just seem to fall right at that last second for you. But I am curious. When everyone came into pit, most of the people pit on that caution a little bit early, right? And then we had a little bit of takers on that last caution lap that came in. And then you have people like Seminara and the 17 and a few other people that actually stayed out. And I believe you were the one of the ones that stayed out or actually pit, you didn't pit that last caution lap. Were you really thinking we were going to have another caution, or did you was it in your mind that you really wanted to pit that last caution lap? I wasn't here, so I don't know if you answered that one yet or not.
Well, I did come in. I mean, I think everybody either came in the second time by and were
Well, we
able
really had
when
3
we
laps of
went to the
caution that one.
restart. Yeah, we went to the restart. I pitted originally early, thinking, okay, I can, stay, fifth, sixth, seventh, and maybe stay in there and lift enough that I would get there because I was probably one lap short when we went green. And then I think the 24 blew second gear on the start, and next thing you know, I'm running fourth. I'm like, okay, this is good. 15 to go, I'm running fourth. Just stay in line, try to battle left and right, stay in the middle, lift as much as you can, conserve, and hope for the best. I mean, remember there was a race last season. I was leading coming out of 3 and 4 and ran out of gas also. So I think it's going to happen. Knock on wood. But just got to try to stay out there and stay in it.
Well, your showing tonight showed, and you said last season you were leading coming off the corner as well. I mean, if anything, this is momentum building, and your time will eventually come sooner rather than later.
Well, I thank you for those kind words, Jessica. It's very nice of you.
Well, Doug, congratulations. A great start to the season, a podium to open up season 58. We're certainly looking forward to seeing if you can keep that consistency up, maybe make it into the playoffs there with this number 23. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
I would thank for everybody that I've learned from while I've been here at RTG for like the last 3 years. I've been racing quite some time. My brother Ray got me into it. He runs Afterburner over there. Just some good racers, some clean racers. Josh, always working hard to run Thursday nights. And you guys for putting on a good show. I listen to the broadcast after or the next day, make my wife watch it, even though she doesn't really enjoy it, but that's life at the life.
Well, Doug Kulik, a great way to start out the year here. The 23 brings it home P3 here tonight in the season opener. Congratulations on a great run and best of luck continuing on this momentum next week.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Doug Kulik, the third place finisher here tonight. Let's see if we can get the guy that came up just short of picking up what would have been his second win of his career here in the Tally Challenge, Rodney Sullins.
You got a new scheme too, don't he?
Yes, he does. Got the red, white, and blue here tonight. Rodney, is Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth? You got us?
Good evening. How are y'all?
Well, we're good. I'll tell you what, though. We were treated here up in the grandstands to an incredible last lap. I can only imagine what was going through your minds as the drivers with everything that was taking place in that final 2.66 miles. But We saw the strategy all the way back on that last restart. Some drivers electing to keep the track position and stay out. Number of drivers, including yourself, decided to come down pit road at that 1 to green to make absolutely certain, if we went green to the end, that you guys were going to be able to make it on fuel. Did you expect it was going to come down to as crazy as it was there, though, with drivers up there inside the top 10 suddenly dropping like flies and you guys having to scatter to avoid them?
Well, after I went in pit and I come out and I was watching the fuel, I seen how much I had to go, and I knew those guys, like you said, didn't top off. I'm like, oh my goodness! And I was in the draft. I didn't want to pull out, so I just stayed in the draft to get the best fuel mileage I could. And I knew those guys up front were just hammering down, and I'm like, there's no way they're going to make it. I can't see them making, because I was teetering back and forth with whether or not I was going to make it. So I felt like they were going to run out, and I was just like, well, I hope we don't have just a big wreck, coming out of 4, coming through the tri-oval. So it was, it was crazy. I was literally watching in front of me and looking at my gas, watching out front and looking at my gas.
Rodney Sullins in the 38, another great performance to add to your resume. I mean, you came out of nowhere. I think the few times where we mentioned you were battling the middle of the pack toward the back of the pack, and out of nowhere at the very end, you were right there where it mattered, where it counted, played the cards right, and it almost gave you a royal flush at that end to actually get that win. But what Seth and I were talking about a little earlier is you got 8 races, right, before the playoffs this time. 12 people can make it. We know you want the win. You're always in the conversation. You're always enough up there to where, we got to watch that guy. We have to watch that 38 machine because he knows how to get up here now. He knows how to push it, and he knows what he's doing. So, do you try to go for the win, or are you just content with top 10, top 5 finishes to get in that little playoff machine that they got going here?
Well, it's been a few seasons, Jess, and thank you for that. It's been a few seasons since I've won. Literally, actually crossed the start-finish line first. I know I got the gift from Chuck a while back, and I want to win one just so I can get that monkey off my back. Thought I was going to get one tonight. I think me and John were actually going to try to go to the outside if something happened, and then when it happened, I moved to the outside, and I think I caught John off guard, and he just kind of stayed under me. He had Donnie pushing him, so he knows he might have thought he might have caused a wreck, but I'm just glad he won since we were going to try to work together. But a win, I want to win. I need to get a win, Jess, and just to feel better. But I really want to get some good finishes. I want to make the playoffs again. So good finishes, priority 1.
So you feel that in the end, going into the playoffs itself, that wins will mean a lot more than consistent top 5, top 10 finish at this point. And you need to get that one win to feel like you will automatically lock your way in rather than trying to go for seconds and thirds and fourths. I mean, I know a win's good, but like we were talking about earlier, risk versus reward at these tracks, and you saw quite a bit of it there at the end of that.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a catch-22 sometimes. I mean, like I say, every race, my goal is to finish top 10, top 5. That's my goal. And if it plays out like it was kind of playing out tonight, I said, I've got a chance here. And it didn't work out. I'm happy for John. I'm happy to finish second. So that's the goal. Just look at the list of the guys that are on here. I mean, these guys are some of the best in the business. It's crazy that I've made the playoffs a few times and even won a race here. So it's amazing with the talent level here.
Rodney, I want to piggyback just a little bit off of one of the questions just asked you in regards to the fact that 12 drivers make it in via points. Of course, if you're inside the top 20 with a win, you make it in the playoffs as well. But we've whittled it down from 10 to 9 to now 8 regular season races. Here tonight was maybe one of the most aggressive races I've seen in quite a while. We saw a lot more risks being taken in terms of the fuel strategy late. A couple of our wrecks were drivers getting out of shape after they were literally getting shoved in the back bumper. Is this just because everybody had a clean slate here tonight? They were all kind of building up from square one, or because we have such a limited number of regular season races this year, Is this going to be something we're going to see for these final 7 races as well, kind of that sense of urgency with not a whole lot of races and a lot of laps to work with?
Seth, I'm going to say the latter because it's literally been a topic of conversation during the races. Man, it's going to be tough. We only got 8 races to do this. So I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a very exciting 7 more races because people want to get in there. And the only way to get in there is to finish good or win. And you got to push and make some moves. And, it's going to be exciting. I do believe it's maybe one of the most exciting 7 race stretches or 8 race stretches we've had.
Well, we are looking forward to if tonight is anything to go by. Rodney, a great run for you tonight. Congratulations on the performance. Before we let you go, though, we're going to give the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
Seth, Jessica, I'm really looking forward to watching this broadcast because it was exciting. I could feel it from the cockpit. But thank you guys, FRN, RTG, David Cannon, Sean Prime, of course, the owners, Josh, Wiley, and Tim, the admins who run this phenomenal series, and all the admins that run any series here at RTG, all the drivers. Black Rifle Coffee, Rock and Brews, my BSR team, my XFM friends. And I want to say congrats to John Godfrey. I'll take just a second because I started back racing about 2 years ago. And that man single-handedly helped me get back into this. And I really appreciate it because after that 15, 16-year layoff, I was like a fish out of water. And John Godfrey helped me get everything going. So I'm happy for him. I'm really excited that he won. I'd like to have won, but I'm not sure there's anybody out there right now that I'd rather see win than John with everything that he's done to help me. So congrats, John, and thank y'all again.
Rodney Sullins starts off season 58 with a tremendous finish. Second place here tonight in the season opener. Congratulations on the great run, Rodney. Obviously, we feel that win is somewhere down the line here, maybe even next week, but good consistent runs as well to get into the playoffs. We're looking forward to seeing you go to work next week.
Thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
And let's go down to victory lane and see if we can dial up the driver of the number 711, John Godfrey.
If he hasn't had a heart attack yet.
Right? John, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I do, guys. I have resumed breathing.
Well, Happy New Year with a checkered flag. Second of your career in this series. I looked back. December 17th of 2020, the season finale of season 51, when you got your first career win. I remember that very well. Here tonight, though, maybe more of a thrilling victory than your first win in your career. I mean, that was a nail biter with drivers questioning, can I make it on fuel? Is the thing going to sputter when I come to the start finish line? You had to dodge a couple of trucks that were running out of fuel there from turn 3 all the way to the stripe.
Yeah, I hope we made it thrilling enough for you. And yeah, part of my biggest regret is that I didn't have enough fuel left to do a burnout, Seth.
John, congratulations. I cannot believe that happened. I mean, when you got right behind Doug Hewlett and got that little bit of a run on him, I mean, a little bit of a wiggle from the 23 machine, ran out of fuel, able to go to that high side, grab the win. That was a really heck of a job, good win. You're locked in at this moment in time to the playoffs. Question, are you content to just go out there and run and try to get your top 10s, or do you need to get that second one? That's what Seth and I were talking about a little earlier about having only 8 races to do this.
Yeah, it's good to lock in when it's a short regular season like that. But I will just strive for consistency, Jess. I mean, last season was a disaster, and inconsistency was the key word there. So I'll be content to run up front and keep it out of trouble. I mean, tonight was a roller coaster. I got clipped in 2 of those wrecks. Fortunately, had no damage, and then I shot myself in the foot by getting a speeding penalty on one of the green flag stops. I thought my night was over then, but I got saved by a caution. So I'm just thrilled with the outcome.
So obviously, with being locked into the playoffs, for people if they were wondering when you ended up getting your first career win being the season finale, you weren't in the playoffs. So I believe that this will be your first playoff appearance in this series.
The All-Star.
Yeah, there you go. So, with the fact that there's 7 races left, do you do maybe a little bit of experimentation in preparation for the playoffs? Maybe try some varying strategies or something there? Do you maybe some drivers that you've worked with here in the past? Do you maybe try and work with them to try and get them into the playoffs? That way you have some allies that are all trying to move your way into the next round, because we know now that there's going to be 6 playoff races rather than 5.
All of the above, Seth. All of the above.
Well, John, obviously a great way to start out the season for you. You had a victory in a season finale. You now have a victory in a season opener. So kind of bookending the seasons, it seems here. But congratulations on a job well done. It was a thrilling finish for us up here in the booth. It took us a long time to catch our breath. I can only imagine what it was like for you, checking to see if you were that first one back to the line, checking your F2. But if you still got a little bit of hair left for us, we're going to turn the microphone over to you for some Victory Lane thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Thank you, guys. Big shout out to LaJoy's for their sponsorship, and Tuccinardi Brothers Excavating. And of course, the boys back at the shop gave me a great piece, and we kept it clean all night long.
John Godfrey, he is your winner of the season opener of season 58 of the RTG Talladega Challenge. He knows he'll be moving on to the playoffs in about 7 weeks' time. John, congratulations on a job well done. Go and enjoy this victory. Well deserved.
Thank you, Seth and Jess. Thank you.
See you next week, John.
And that brings our coverage to a close.
Well,
I think we've said is there anything more to say? I mean, my goodness, what an amazing way to open up this season.
Well, I mean, I do want to point out, I enjoy racing here. I really do. But for tonight, I will admit, I am just glad that I was not part of any wrecks that happened. So I'm actually quite happy I was commentating instead of racing tonight. But, I mean, Seth, I don't know when the last time, I mean, we usually have pretty good openers, but this opener here just skyrocketed. Like, if you had to give it a 5-star rating, it's if it's not 4, 4.5, it's 5. I mean, it's right there.
I give it a 6. Forget the scale. We're breaking the scale.
Okay, Mr. 110%. I mean, it's just, I don't know if they've got another race that they can do this in the next 6 races before the last, I mean, obviously that last race before the playoffs, they're really going to be going head to head, but I don't know if they would be willing to get this aggressive and all between now and that point, race, 7 or 8, when they start going really hard to get in. I'm wondering if between race 2 and 5, they just, okay, we're going to see who wins, but this one here, stuff, they were aggressive all over, not just up in the top 5, top 10. They were aggressive all over at the end of this.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is going to be interesting to see, especially in the next couple of weeks after the fallout from tonight, if we see a little bit more of a laid-back Talladega race. Of course, as well, throw the monkey wrench in, because we're going to be at BSR night for a few races as well with the alternating. But you consider the fact that a driver who finished up there at the front, in Ronnie Sullins, we asked him, and he said, I've got the feeling that we're going to say this same type of racing week after week after week, because the sense of urgency has already kicked in here in race number 1, knowing that there's only 8 regular season races to lock your way in via a victory. Granted, there are a couple of extra spots to get in via points, but at the same time, there's not as long of a regular season. You also throw into the mix the fact that these drivers have to kind of formulate a strategy on the fly, because we have the random qualifying. You don't control your destiny on where you start in this field. And then on top of all of that, in a few weeks' time, we're starting up the bracket series. And so you've got those 1v1 battles that are going on. So it just kind of seems like what we saw here tonight, it could be the precursor to seeing this every single week here for these 8 races. And, I don't want to say it's an underdog story because it really isn't. John Godfrey has been up at the front in a lot of these races. He's been in the conversation for wins. He just hasn't been able to close out the deal. But we're starting to see here maybe a trend of drivers that we don't necessarily see up at the front consistently each week. That might be the story here going down
Based on
this
how
regular
the
season.
based on how the racing's going, I mean, is that what you're looking at? Because of how now there's more of an urgency to do it based on the limited schedule before we get there now? I mean, do you really, is that where you're going with this? I mean, it's a lot more wanting to get in there now.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And of course, as well, wanting to set momentum in those final few races of the regular season heading into the playoffs. Before we go off air, we actually, I believe, are going to get a word from Donnie Garrett. So
Yep.
let's see if we can get a hold of him. I think we've got Donnie. Donnie, got us?
I got you.
All right.
Y'all not on the air, are you?
We are still on the air.
Oh, okay. I have to talk to you after that.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, before we go though, we should bring up the sponsorship one more time before closing out for the next part. So why don't you go take it ahead for that?
Yep, want to give a big thank you to Ultimate Garage Floors for their sponsorship here of this season of the RTG Talladega Challenge. Ultimate Garage Floors specializes in professional quality XPC floor systems for a variety of applications, including the Ultimate Garage, game rooms, laundry rooms, utility rooms, as well as many commercial applications. Their installers at Ultimate Garage Floors have over 30 years of specialty coatings experience, including XPC floor systems and other concrete coating solutions. They maintain relationships with installers throughout the Northwest, including California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Texas. Again, a big thank you to Ultimate Garage Floors for sponsoring this season of the Talladega Challenge. They've got to be thrilled with the race here tonight to open up the season. No doubt we were thrilled up here in the booth.
Absolutely.
I think I have a little bit of voice left, not much, but
Well,
my goodness, what
well,
a way to open up the season.
Well, I mean, great opener nonetheless. But do we got any off-side broadcasts coming up that the viewers may want to check out and tune into?
As far as I am aware, next time you'll see us, we're going to be back here again next Thursday night for race number 2, season 58 of the RTG Talladega Challenge. Next Thursday night, green flag going to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if tonight was anything to go by, you're not going to want to miss a single race of this season because, my goodness, what a way for a precursor heading towards that road for the playoff grid. So,
and we're just getting started.
Just getting started. This is just the beginning. Well, folks, we want to thank you for tuning into our coverage here tonight on the Flatout Racing Network. If you enjoyed it, again, be sure to tune in next week. Consider giving us a subscribe as well to get notified when our broadcasts go live. And Jess, for one final time, I appreciate you joining me up in the booth here tonight. Cannot wait to see the fallout next week.
I'll be here all season long unless Michael decides he actually wants to not work for a night. But yeah, I mean I'm happy and I'm very honored to be able to be part of this season. I mean, I do want to give a quick shout out to Zach Freeman, who used to be up here a lot. We haven't seen him around in a while, but we hope that he's doing well. I don't know anything going on with him. I know he's got real life stuff going on, but we miss him, and hopefully he'll be back to do some broadcasting eventually with us. I mean, we enjoy having Zach up here. Zach's really good at what he does, and we miss him, and hope that he comes back soon. And Dante, the old driver of what was it, the 84 or the 82, one of the two. I can't remember which one. I think it's 84 for this one. Yeah, I think it's 84 in this season, in this series. But I mean, he's currently Mr. Weatherman over there and doing his best at what he does, at what he loves right now. And you know, he's not going to be showing up too much, but he's always said that if he can make time to come over here, he will. And you know, if you want to, you know, follow Rolling Thunder Gaming on Facebook and see if you can get a link to his shows. Dante does stream or record some of his weather broadcasts, so I mean he does a good job at what he does, and hope to see him back over here soon.
Maybe he's got a YouTube channel that's got some of his weather station clips as well. So Yeah, be sure to check that out. Well, congratulations once again to John Godfrey on his second career win here in the Tally Challenge. First of the season here of season 58 of the Talladega Challenge under the RTG banner. For Jessica Shelton, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next Thursday night for the continuation of the Tally Challenge here on FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your